Hi students, good morning. Hope you are done the homework that given previous class and from what point we wind up the class by saying we have to measure the rate of motion. Okay, so today we are starting with that, what measuring the rate of motion. Okay, how we can measure the rate of motion? Measuring the rate of motion. Measuring the rate of motion. Okay, how we can measure the rate of motion? Before that, what do you mean by rate? What do you mean by rate? How we can say rate? Some rate of flow or rate of what? Rate of what else? Rate of speed and that the things what we are dealing with this rate. How we can say rate? We are giving the relative flow, or we are giving rate of flow means the rate of flow of water means the rate of flow of water means flow of water per unit time. Unit time എത്ര വാട്ടർ ഫ്ലോ ചെയ്തു എന്നതാണ് നമ്മൾ റേറ്റ് കൊണ്ട് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്. റേറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലോ മീൻസ് the rate of flow of water means flow of water per unit time. Like that we giving the rate of speed means speed per unit time. Rate of what else? Rate of motion. Here we have to discuss rate of motion. How we can see that how we can measure the rate of motion. So here in your textbooks, two pictures are given, right? So look at that situation given in your textbook. What are the situation given in your textbooks? That is, you all know, you may like cricket. You all watching cricket, right? So while watching cricket, you may experience or you may see that if a bowler is bowling, then the bowling speed will given at the title bar or at the top, or maybe at top, or sometime it may be on the bottom, right? So bowling speed, or else what else, the speed of ball boundary when the ball reaches the boundary, the rate of that ball's motion that will be given, right? So and you might have seen that the signboards means here given and the speed limit, right? You may travel while traveling in national highways and other national highway or state highways. There may be these the signboards like this. What would these signboards or these bowling speeds like kilometer per hour, what does it means? What do you understand from these signboards? What do you understand? This will give us an idea about what speed a vehicle can take in that road per unit time, right? Here it is given that 50 km per hour, which means the car should take it should take 50 km per hour. That means in 1 hour it should have a speed of 50 km, right? So we can give another example, or we can say that object may take different amount of time to cover. Object may take different amount of time to cover different distance, right? So object may take a different amount of time to cover some distance. Okay, different object may take different amount of time to cover a given distance, right? That means a car can car can cover 10 kilometer within a time of 2 hours, right? But if that will be a bike, or that will be instead of car, if it is a bus, it cannot take it can't cover 10 kilometer within a time of 2 hours, right? So it may vary. It may vary with vehicles and the efficiency of the vehicles and some other things, right? So the rate at which object move can be different. Okay, the rate at which the object can be moved may be different. One way of measuring the rate of motion of an object is to find out the distance travelled by the object in unit time. That is, what does it mean? By measuring the distance travelled by an object per unit time, we can understand the rate of motion, right? We can simply say that we know the speed of that vehicle, right, or that object. So what do you mean by speed? What do you mean by speed of a car, or speed of a bus, or speed of a bike, or anything else, any object? What do you mean by speed of that object? That is, speed indicates, that is, it is a measure of rate of motion. Speed is a measure of rate of motion, right? So what does it mean? Speed is the distance travelled by an object per unit time. Okay, that is speed of that object. Usually speed of an object is expressed in the unit meter per second. Okay, here we can write speed. That is, speed is a measure of rate of motion. We already said that speed can be equal to distance by time, right? That is distance moved per unit time. That is speed of an object, right? So there are so we can find out the unit of this speed, right? What is the unit of distance? The unit of distance is meter, right? And unit of time, SI unit of time is seconds, right? So unit of speed may be what it would be, meter per second, or it can be written as meter second inverse, right? This is the unit of speed. Okay, so we discussed in previous class, there are uniform and non-uniform motions. Most of the motions are non-uniform motion. So while we are considering non-uniform motion, we cannot say just speed. We can only say the average speed of a non-uniformly moving vehicle or an object, right? So we should say that the average speed is equal to, that is, average speed, it is equal to the total distance travelled, that is total distance travelled per total distance, total time taken, right? Total time taken. This is the average speed of an object, right? We describe the motion of such object in terms of their average distance. What objects? The non-uniformly moving object can only express like with their average speed, right? So we can give mathematically, it is V is equal to S by T. You may be confused with this view as velocity. The velocity we should study later or in next classes, or we have to study velocity. So you should remember what is this average speed. This is average speed is equal to the total distance travelled by total time taken, right? You should remember this thing, right? You should remember this thing. So it may be these abbreviations can be changed. So you should keep in mind this formula, right? So average speed, that is average speed. Here it is given an example for you to understand this average speed and to understand about speed more. You have given an example and also you have given a question with solution. You should read that and you should do in your notebook. So let us understand this by an example. The first example I can show here. What is that? Let me do. Let us understand this by an example. What is the example? A car travels a distance of 100 km. A car travels a distance of, that is total distance is 100 km, right? 100 km. And what this 100 km can be travelled within a time of 2 hours, right? 2 hours. Okay. Its average speed is equal to 50 km per hour. The average speed is equal to 50 km per hour, right? And the car might not have travelled at 50 km per hour at all time. That is average speed. Average speed is 50 km, right? So how it is average speed is 50 km, that is 100 the total distance travelled per total time taken is equal to 50, right? This is the average speed. The car may take more speed, that is more than 50, or it may lower its speed, lowering from downwards, right? So the car sometimes it might have travelled faster or it may travel slower than this 50. This is only average speed. We cannot say the exact speed of a car or any non-uniformly moving objects. We cannot say exact speed. We can only say the average speed of that object, right? So there is another example given to you. You should do that, right? So we are moving to next. We are moving to the next term, that is velocity, right? What do you mean by velocity? Do you heard about it? That is velocity, simply velocity. What is velocity? We can say speed with direction is velocity, right? Simply we can say it is speed with speed with direction, right? What it means? I say before that I forgot to say something about speed. That is, speed is a scalar quantity. Scalar quantity. Scalar quantity. You might have studied scalar quantity, right? Scalar quantities have only quantities that have only magnitude, and another one is quantity. The physical quantities may be scalar or vector, right? Vector quantities can have both magnitude and direction, and here the velocity is a vector quantity. That means it have both magnitude and direction, right? So we can see what it is. The quantity that specifies both the aspects of speed and direction, right? It is called velocity, or we can say what velocity is equal to displacement by time, right? You already know that displacement is a vector quantity. That means displacement might have magnitude as well as direction. So velocity can be written as displacement by time, right? That is, it is the rate of change of displacement. Okay. So velocity can be given as just like this. As like that of speed, velocity also we cannot say exact velocity of a non-uniformly moving object, right? Velocity, it may change by changing the object speed. Velocity is the speed with direction, right? So it may change while changing the speed of the object, right? When an object is moving along a straight line at a variable speed, we can express the magnitude of the rate of motion in terms of average velocity. That is, we can express the velocity or the speed of an object by average velocity, right? That is, an object moving, velocity of an object can be uniform or variable, right? While changing the speed of an object, the velocity may also vary, right? So it can be changed by changing the speed of an object, as well as it may be changing by changing the direction of the object, right? So velocity can change with changing the direction as well as changing the speed of the object, right? When an object is moving along a straight line at a variable speed, right? When an object is moving in a straight line at a variable speed, speed is varying, right? And we can express the magnitude of its rate of motion. We are discussing how we can measure the rate of motion, right? One thing is speed and the next thing is velocity. So the object moving straight line in a variable speed, we can express the magnitude of its rate of motion in terms of average velocity. We are expressed speed as average speed as well as velocity as average velocity. Average velocity is given as what? Initial velocity, that is the arithmetic mean of the arithmetic mean of initial and its final velocity. The average velocity given as the arithmetic mean of its initial and final velocity, right? By 2, right? That is, in case of velocity of object, it is changing in a uniform rate, then average speed is given by the arithmetic mean of initial velocity and final velocity for a given period of time. Okay. So what do you understand from this? Initial velocity plus final velocity by 2. This initial velocity and final velocity are may be variable or may be constantly changing, and some other else. So average velocity is given as the arithmetic mean of its initial and final velocities, right? So mathematically we can give it as V average is equal to initial velocity can be given by the term u, and final velocity can be given as v by 2. This is the average velocity of an object, right? So what we are discussed today? What is speed of an object and how we express its speed as average speed, and these are terms, these are the tools for measuring the rate of motion of an object, right? And the another tool, what will be the another tool for measuring the rate of motion? That is velocity. Velocity of an object means, what would be the velocity? Simply it is the speed with direction. That is, it may be like what the displacement per unit time, right? Or it may be what the speed with direction, okay? And speed is a vector, a scalar quantity, and what velocity is a vector quantity, right? What is vector and scalar? Speed is only having magnitude, right? But velocity should have magnitude as well as direction, right? So what will be the unit of velocity? Velocity may have also the unit meter per second, that is speed with direction, right? So the unit of speed and the unit of velocity are equal. Meter per second, which can be written as meter second inverse, or it may be like what, kilometer per hour or centimeter per second, right? These things, the change in these things means the what distance and displacement we are measuring. We can measure distance. The SI unit is meter per second, right? We can measure distance by kilometers, or it can be measured as in centimeters, right? And also time can be measured in seconds, hours, right? So that is why the units are changing, okay? Basically, or what a SI unit of velocity and speed is meter per second, right? So students, you should learn what is speed and what is velocity and what is the difference between these two, and how it is measured, and when we are giving average speed and when we are giving average velocity. You should know all these things, okay? You should read your textbooks, and you should do the examples or the activities given to you, okay? If you have any doubt, anytime you can ask me through WhatsApp or you can you can share your views with me, and or you can share your views with your friends, right? So today we can wind up, okay? And next class we have to do some questions, some examples, right? We have to do some mathematical problems regarding this velocity, speed and etc. So do well and work all these questions, or try to do the activities and try to do the questions, okay? We can meet in next class, okay? Then goodbye.